U.S. senators pouncing on Attorney General Garland. It was beautiful to watch. Is it too little, too late? I'm Randall Terry. This is Voice of Resistance.
Those who forsake the law praise the wicked. Those who uphold the law resist them. Welcome to the Voice of Resistance.
Welcome to the broadcast, friend. In tonight's program, I am going to show you two clips, one from Senator Cotton from Arkansas and one from Senator Cruz from Texas, how they belligerently questioned and browbeat, there's no other way to describe it, they browbeat the Attorney General of the United States. Before I do, I want to thank all of you who watch this program on good old-fashioned television. We are on the Walk TV network. It is an honor and a privilege for me to be on this network and to be carried by these affiliates. I thank the affiliates. I thank the Walk TV network. And the reason is because I'm old school. I'm not into Twitter. I'm not into Facebook. I'm not into YouTube. I do have a YouTube channel, but it's not how my brain works. It's not how I roll. I know that I'm behind the times. I know that most people are heading in that direction, but I'm still glad to be on good old-fashioned television. All right. I've been in the fight for America's soul for nearly 40 years. And in that time, starting with the first vote that I ever cast for Ronald Reagan in 1980, I have seen the false hope of activism coupled with a corresponding decline. So we would see an uptick, street level activism, voting involvement, people lifting up their voices, some preachers starting to preach, Jerry Falwell, James Dobson, Pat Robertson, Cardinal O'Connor from New York, good men. Bishop Austin Vaughn from New York, who told Mario Cuomo, in effect, Governor Cuomo, he was on his way to hell if he didn't repent. Those were the good old days. We've seen this. Now, what I'm about to show you with these senators going after Garland, it's one of these. And there's something inside of me that says, yes, the good guys are going to finally mount an offensive. The horrors that happened in Loudoun County and that boy raping two different girls while he was dressed up like a girl. This is going to inflame people. It's going to ignite people. And it will. But I don't think it's going to enough to save the republic. Now I'm going to take a quick break because the clip of Senator Cotton is pretty long and I want to play the whole thing in one sitting. Let me take a break. This is going to be fun to watch. But I want you to know as I go forward in the show, I'm going to explain to you why I believe it's too little, too late. Don't go away. Welcome back, friend. There's no question in any thinking person's mind that the Attorney General's office, the Justice Department, the FBI has been corrupted. It has become a political arm of the Democrat National Committee. All right? It's disgusting. These people disgust me. And I have personal history with the FBI that I won't waste time on this program with. There are some good people. There are good agents in there, don't get me wrong. But the leadership, they are corrupt. All right. Well, let's watch Senator Tom Cotton go after Attorney General Garland.
Fine. That's fine. Do you believe Tony Fauci was truthful when he said his agency had never funded gain-of-function research?
This is outside of my scope of knowledge.
Okay. Let's turn to your outrageous directive sicking the feds on parents at school boards across America. When you crafted that October 4th memo, did you consult with senior leadership at the FBI?
My understanding was that the memo, or the idea of the memo, had been discussed with the FBI before it got.
Did anyone at the FBI express any doubt or disagreement or hesitation with your decision to issue that memo?
No one expressed that to me.
No one?
To me. No one expressed that to me, no.
Because a lot of them have contacted us, and they said they did, Judge.
I'm sorry?
A lot of FBI officials have contacted my office and said that they oppose this decision.
Well, I doubt any of them spoke to me about it because I didn't speak to no one.
All right.
Made that
All right.
to me.
Judge, you've repeatedly dissembled this morning about that directive. For instance, about the National Security Division. Chuck Grassley asked you a very simple question, why you would sick the National Security Division of the Department of Justice on parents. John Cornyn asked you the same thing. You said it wasn't in your October 4th memorandum, it was in another office's memorandum. It wasn't another office's memorandum, Judge. It was in a press release from your office, right here in front of me, October 4th, 2021, for immediate release. You're going to create a task force that includes the National Security Division. What on earth does the National Security Division have to do with parents who are expressing disagreements at school boards?
Nothing in this memorandum or any memorandum is about parents expressing disagreements with their school boards. The memorandum makes clear that parents are entitled and protected by the First Amendment to have vigorous debates. We don't, the Justice Department is not interested in that question at all. It is
okay, so even in that case, what is the National Security Division, Judge? These are the people that are supposed to be chasing jihadists and Chinese spies. What does the National Security Division have to do with parents at school boards?
This is not, again, about parents at school boards. This is about threats of violence.
Okay, let me turn to that because you've said that phrase repeatedly throughout the morning. Threats or violence and threats of violence. Violence and threats of violence. Yeah. We've heard it a dozen times this morning. As Senator Lee pointed out, the very first line in your October 4th memorandum refers to harassment and intimidation. Why do you continue to dissemble in front of this committee that you are only talking about violence and threats of violence when your memo says harassment and intimidation?
Senator, I said in my testimony that it involved other kinds of criminal conduct, and I explained to Senator Lee that the statutory definitions of those terms and the constitutional definitions of those terms involve threats of violence.
Okay, let's look at one of those statutes you cited, Section 223.
Yeah.
That statute covers the use of not just telephones but telecommunications devices to annoy someone. So are you going to sick your U.S. attorneys and the FBI on a parents group if they post on Facebook something that annoys a school board member, Judge?
The answer to that is no, and the provision that I was particularly drawing to his attention was 2261A, which was to engage in...
I wasn't talking about 2261A. I know you mentioned that. You also mentioned 223. That's what I mentioned.
Yeah, but the only
Judge, you also told Senator Klobuchar that this memorandum was about meetings and coordination.
Yeah.
Meetings and coordination.
Yeah.
Well, I have in my hand right here that I'll submit to the record a letter from one of your U.S. attorneys to all of the county attorneys, to the Attorney General, to all sheriffs, to the School Board Association of his state, in which he talks about federal investigation and prosecution. It's not about meetings, it's not about coordination, it's about federal investigation and prosecution. Did you direct your U.S. attorneys to issue such a letter?
I did not. I have not seen that letter.
It's got 3 pages. It's got 3 pages of spreadsheet about all the federal crimes that a parent could be charged with, to include the ones you cited. Did Maine Justice make this spreadsheet, Judge?
I don't have any idea. My memorandum speaks specifically about setting up meetings, and I'll just read it again, convene meetings.
Judge, we've all read your memorandum. We've also heard you dissemble about your memorandum. I have, and the record now shows, one of your U.S. attorneys sending out a letter about federal prosecution investigation and list in detail the federal statutes for which you could be prosecuted. Judge, you've talked a lot about intimidation and harassment. Have you issued a memorandum like your October 4th memorandum about the Black Lives Matter riots from last summer?
You're talking about the summer of 2020? In the summer of 2020, there
were a lot of crimes committed. People haven't been charged for those crimes yet.
There were a lot of prosecutions, and they were under the previous administration.
Okay, Judge, what about this? It is no doubt, you're even though parents at school boards aren't within federal jurisdiction. There's no doubt that federal officials are. You keep saying senators. Have you started an investigation into the harassment of Senator Kyrsten Sinema in a bathroom? Because she won't go along with the Democratic Party's big tax and spend agenda? That is a sitting United States senator being harassed in a bathroom.
I don't know whether the senator has referred the matter to the Justice Department or not.
You've cited as the basis for that directive the National School Board Association's letter of September 29th. Was that directive being prepared before September 29th, before the School Board Association letter was issued?
I don't believe so. Certainly, I didn't have any idea.
So it was only prepared okay, I think that answers the question.
I already answered that question
So you keep citing the school board letter and news reports.
Right.
One of the news reports cited in that letter, which you presumably mean, is from Loudoun County, Virginia.
No, that is not what I was talking about.
Well, you keep citing news reports, and that's the most prominent news report that anyone in America has seen. That refers to Scott Smith, whose 15-year-old daughter was raped. She was raped in a bathroom by a boy wearing girls' clothes, and the Loudoun County School Board covered it up because it would have interfered with their transgendered policy during Pride Month. And that man, Scott Smith, because he went to a school board and tried to defend his daughter's rights, was condemned internationally. Do you apologize to Scott Smith and his 15-year-old daughter, Judge?
Senator, anyone whose child was raped is the most horrific crime I can imagine, and is certainly entitled and protected by the First Amendment to protest to their school board about this.
But he was cited by the School Board Association as a domestic terrorist, which we now know that letter and those reports were the basis for your...
Senator,
this is
that's wrong.
Shameful. Judge, this is shameful. This testimony, your directive, your performance is shameful.
Okay. That's not...
Thank God you are not on the Supreme Court. You should resign in disgrace, Judge.
Ooh, that was blistering. I'm so glad you're not on the court. Oh, thank you, God, for President Trump and the appointments he made. We'll see what happens. Anyway, I've got to take a quick break. When we come back, Senator Ted Cruz. Welcome back, friend. Let's watch Senator Ted Cruz go toe-to-toe with the Attorney General.
It says nothing about parents committing any such things. My memo is an attempt to get an assessment of whether there is a problem out there that the federal government needs to resolve.
The letter on its face says the actions of the parents could be the equivalent to a form of domestic terrorism.
And that is wrong.
And asks the president to use the Patriot Act in regards to domestic terrorism directed at parents. This was the basis of your memo.
My memo.
The Department of Justice, when you're directing the FBI to engage in law enforcement, you're not behaving as a political operative because a political ally of the president says, hey, go attack these parents because we don't like what they're saying. Department of Justice, you did no independent research on what was happening, did you?
The memo has nothing to do with partisan.
Did you do independent research?
The memo has.
Did you do independent research?
The memo has nothing to do with
you're not answering that
politics.
question. You've testified you know nothing about the violent sexual assault that happened in Loudoun County, even though it's one of the bases in this letter.
I read about it since then.
Okay. You told the House last week you knew nothing about it.
Not know at the time, no.
Okay. This week, the court concluded that a 14-year-old girl was violently raped by a boy wearing a skirt in the girls' restroom. The school district covered it up, released the boy, sent him to another school where he violently raped another girl. The father, who Mr. Hawley just showed you, was the father of the first girl. He was understandably, do you understand why a parent would be upset when your daughter is raped at school, the school board covers it up, and then lies to you and claims there have been no assaults, we have no instances of assaults in our bathroom, and that was a flat-out lie, as the court concluded this week. Do you understand why the parent would be upset?
Absolutely, and any expressions of upset are completely protected by the First Amendment.
Except you just called him a domestic terrorist.
I never called him that. That's not correct.
This letter calls him a domestic terrorist. You based a direction to the FBI, an official direction from the Attorney General, on this letter, and I'll tell you what, the NSBA is so embarrassed of this letter, they've apologized for it and retracted it, but you don't apparently have the same willingness to apologize and retract what you did. Let me ask you.
Now, I'm going to take a break. Thank you, Senator Cruz, for bringing this into such sharp clarity. I'm going to take a break, and when we come back, I'm going to use the last segment of this program to explain to you why it's probably too little, too late. But if it's not, if there is going to be a spark of restoration, reformation, I'm going to tell you what it will take exactly and precisely. So please don't go away. Most of us want a normal life, whatever that is. And by that, many of us would mean peace, joy, if not great wealth, at least enough prosperity to provide for our family. And much of American Christianity is built around the desire for peace and joy and wealth, right? Health. I mean, it's a cottage industry. It's actually more like a multi-billion-dollar industry. Preaching passages from the scripture that teach us, hey, God is there to bless us, to help us. And he clearly is a God who blesses and helps us. The Lord is my strength and my help in my time of need. But we do not have the right to expect those things in a time of ethical crisis. Let me ask you a question. If you lived in Germany in the 1930s, when they were persecuting Jews, Jews were in concentration camps, the Holocaust had in effect begun. Do you think that you as a German Christian would have a right to live a normal life? Let's say you were a devout Christian in the 1840s or 1850s in America. You knew that American slavery was an abomination, a crime against God and man, and you lived in the North or the Deep South. Take your pick. Would you have the right at that time to demand a normal life? In other words, could you say to God, I don't have to worry about the Jews. I'm not a Jew. I'm not committing this Holocaust. I don't have to worry about the slaves. I'm not a slave owner. I don't agree with it. But it's not my problem. Could you make those claims? Could you make those demands? That's what's going on in America today with the Holocaust. Children, this girl was raped. It's horrifying. Child molestation is happening all over this country. The perversion of kids' minds, what children are being taught, it's all of a piece. So this transgender boy being told that if he wants to present himself as a girl, it's all a part of a perverse thread that anchors itself in the rejection of the laws of God and the norms of God, the norms, the natural law, the way God made the world to work. Male and female created he them. That's the truth. There's only two genders, and you don't get to choose. It's just that simple. And anyone who tells you otherwise is a liar. It's not just that they're lying, they're a liar. It's from the pit of hell. We have lived alongside of child killing for so long. So here's why I think that we're not going to make it. I think that this thing that we're seeing in Loudoun County and with different parents around the country, it's one of these. It's a good thing. But remember, the trajectory of America has been this. Sexual revolution, and then some resistance to it, and now the sexual revolution is blasé. Now they're handing out condoms in schools to kids. Now we got transgender bathrooms in Target and in public schools. So here's why we are dying as a country. We are dying as a country because we have tolerated the brutal murder of millions of children. And until that sin is addressed, we will not be restored as a republic. And the sin is twofold. It's the sin of commission, that we're killing these children, and it's the sin of omission, that we're not trying to stop it. You don't have the right to a normal life while babies are being butchered. And if you're not doing something to stop it, you're part of the problem. I don't mean to be unkind. Please forgive me if you think I'm being too harsh. I'm not trying to be a jerk here. But just take it out of the context of where we're at today. Put it in Germany. Put it in the slave times in America. Put it in the middle of any other Holocaust that you've seen or studied. Especially in a free country where we could have stopped it by now. I mean, we're not facing tanks. We're not facing concentration camps. We're not facing dogs hunting us down because we're a runaway slave. We live in a free republic, arguably the most free republic, except for ancient Israel, in the history of the human race. We could have stopped it by now, and we, the Christian community, didn't stop it because it was not a priority. Happiness, peace, prosperity, they were priorities. Having people like us was a priority. Our own personal comfort and our own reputation, those were priorities. But stopping the brutal murder of children wasn't a priority, and so we're being handed over. And until that sin, the sin of killing the children and the sin of us allowing it, until that is repented of, that blood, the blood of these babies is going to continue to cry out to God, and he is going to bring continued judgment upon us. So if you want to get it right, friends, if you want to follow this whole thing, get it right, we're going to add 1 minute. We're going to add 1 minute. If you want to get it right, you've got to make it a priority to end the Holocaust. So I'm in complete agreement with these parents that are happening in Loudoun County and all over the country. Complete agreement. We need to fight. We need to stand up. There's a passage in the book of Jeremiah that says, death has climbed through our windows. In other words, death is in the street. We wouldn't fight it. There's that old poem, What If They Gave a War and Nobody Came? And somebody accurately stated, the war would come to you. They're coming for us because we didn't come to protect the innocent. Do you understand? We're being handed over because we didn't protect God's innocent human beings. So if we're going to get it right, if we're going to be restored as a republic, this has got to be front and center in the Christian community's mind, heart, and actions. God bless you.